Sljedeća prezentacija je globalni trendovi u sektoru smrti.
Next presentations will cover the global trends in the sector of frozen and processed fruit and vegetables and impact on food industry of the Western Balkans in 2023 and 2024. Our participant is Mr. Remer Lane, consultant and expert for trade in frozen vegetable and fruit sector. This is USAID project, Big and Small Business.
Good afternoon, I'm Remer Lane, Srpski Zet. So I've been around, and the front row knows that. I'm here to talk to you about the trends in agriculture globally and the opportunities that Serbia has to meet that. I, like a lot of you, am a farmer. I'm also a processor. I recently sold my company, that's why I can be here today. But I'm still farming, and I farm in Central America, and I farm in Europe, and I farm in the United States, and I support farming in India. I haven't been farming in the United States, here in Serbia, but I spent 10 years living here, working with a lot of you to help the production and get a lot of things going. So I'm going to talk to you today about some of the trends in the marketplace, but from my perspective as actually a grower and a processor. The realities of the marketplace don't always correspond with the media. So I want to kind of bring a focus to that because what we deal with on a daily basis is quite unique. So what I've done is I've kind of outlined the rest of the world and what the highlights are based on the hierarchy of interest within the markets that we deal with around the world. And one of the key things right there in the middle is logistics. And I think you heard that when we first started the conversation about the problems of the Red Sea. It's not just the Red Sea. We've had issues before coming out of China and coming out of Asia, going to other markets with inflationary pressures, with problems with containers trying to catch up. Right now, the containers down in Durban in South Africa are backed up, I'm told, by about 3 to 4 weeks. The ships trying to get in and out of Dar es Salaam are at least 3 weeks delayed. So you have a lot of problems spread around the world that affect logistics. My price, I'll give you an indication. My price for a reefer container from Honduras to Miami, we're talking 3 days, a reefer, cost me about $10,000. Now a reefer from say India to the United States is what, about $4,500 today. So you can see the global logistics is a very strong impact on where you do business and how you do business. And Serbia's opportunity to deliver product into the rest of the world is predicated a lot on the logistics cost and how much it's going to cost us to get our products to market. It is, and when I say the market, Europe is by far Serbia's biggest marketplace for some products. Russia historically has been for others. But Serbian products are sold in the United States. Serbian products are sold in Brazil and Argentina and Chile. Serbian products do make it to Japan. Serbian products do go to China. And with the new trade agreement with China, there should be no reason why more opportunity can't be realized for exports to China. And with the market the way it's working, more opportunity for sales to the United States. One of the things we've heard recently is about the changes and the impact of what's happening in Europe in particular. And in Europe, we have the Green Deal. And the Green Deal and the new Common Agricultural Policy. You have your headphones on. Do you not speak English? So I'm going to make you laugh because a lot of people will fall asleep when I talk. The issue with the Green Deal is very substantial. And it's something a lot of people need to understand what's going to happen because it's going to put a tremendous amount of pressure on European farmers. And we're already seeing the strikes come out with the removal of the subsidies, especially for fuel. And German farmers are striking. Spanish farmers are striking. French farmers are striking. Ireland has to reduce their cattle herd by 25%. So there's going to be a substantial pressure on European agricultural production, which is going to have create a great opportunity for countries like Serbia to fill that gap. I do anticipate that Europe is going to have production issues in the coming 3 to 5 years, if not next. And the opportunity for Serbia to be ready, standing on the sidelines, to be ahead of the game and meet some of this is a real economic opportunity for sales. So for Europe, the Green New Deal and sustainability, there's new certifications that are coming that you meet certain sustainable standards for the European Union. And that's things that we're going to have to be aware of coming from Serbia if we're going to continue to want to sell there. Organic is now mainstream. It's kind of expected. If you're going to spend money to sell organic into Europe, it is no longer really a specialty item. It's an alternative to conventional, and prices are narrowing. Again, I do expect that there's going to be a difficult farmer transition in Europe, and that's going to, again, I'm going to say it, repeat it, pose an opportunity for Serbian producers. The interesting crops coming out of Europe right now, I understand nuts is of high interest, and preserved fruits and vegetables, but juices are decreasing. And we're seeing tremendous pressure on the juice industry, and that's going down. I mean, nobody would have thought there'd be a generation that didn't like to drink orange juice, but guess what? New generation. Yeah. North America, climate impacts are continuing to have issues. American farmers complain a lot about the climate. If you're a farmer, tell me, anybody here actually farm? You're a farmer. You're a farmer. When's the last time you didn't consider the climate in your production? We have always, as a farmer, every year is different. Every year we don't know if the rains are going to come. Every year we don't know how hot it's going to be. Every year we don't know what's going to happen to our crops. Is there going to be a hailstorm? What's going to happen? We've been dealing with climate change since somebody put the first seed in the ground. So climate change is not unusual if you're a farmer. It might be unusual to consumers. It might be unusual to a lot of other people because it's making the news all the time now. But the reality is, as a farmer, we've been dealing with climate change since time began. Clean labels is important to Europe and to the United States. So that's one of the things, if you're a manufacturer, if you're producing a product, a clean label product, and that is not having any colors or artificial flavors or artificial ingredients. My product, and I used to make pickles and red jalapeno spread and okra, bamia. I'm probably the biggest grower of okra in the world. That's kind of cool. I grow over 1,000 acres in Honduras alone. So, you know, clean label is important. That's what consumers are looking for a lot. Reduced sugars. Everybody's hearing all over the world about having less sugar in your products. And here's another thing. Just because you put apple juice in your product, guess what? It's also a sugar. It's a fructose. It says apple juice on your label, but the reality is it's fructose sugar. And it's been clarified and it's been purified, and it's just liquid fructose is all it is. But on the label, you can put apple juice. So there's a lot more scrutiny on these kind of tricks to manufacturing. And the U.S. is instituting changes to the organic program, and there's an additional certification process that will require registration for exporting organic to the United States that is already coming into effect. So if you're in the organic business, you probably are already aware of this. I understand the USAID project already has been working on this for Serbia. So I've included Asia and India, Middle East, Africa, and South America. Why? Because Serbian products are going to these markets. And these markets, based on logistical opportunity, are offering opportunities to Serbian companies. I was fascinated to find out that a company, Dessing, anybody from Dessing here? Dessing actually exhibited at a trade show in Argentina and got business. So people are reaching out beyond the traditional markets to find new markets for Serbian products, and they're finding them. It's just that people don't always think of the South. Serbia, Yugoslavia, as formerly one of the leaders and heads of the non-aligned movement, you can't imagine, I was in Egypt before I came here, and you can't imagine people in Egypt talking about, oh my God, Yugoslavia, it was so great. We still go there to get our seeds. I'm like, really? You still come to Serbia? Yeah, we get our maize seed in Serbia. We still go there. We love it. We have the best time. We love to drink the beer. I said, what? You're Muslim, right? Yeah, but the beer's good in Serbia. Okay. So you will notice that in Asia and in the Middle East and in Africa and South America, what drops down the list? What drops down the list is sustainability. What drops down the list is climate issues. What drops down the list is, like I said, sustainability. It is not at the forefront unless they are exporters to the European Union or the United States. If they're dealing within their own local markets, it's not something that actually comes up. In my business, I've never had a single retailer or customer ask me if I have a sustainable supply chain. I've never had a single retailer or customer ask me about the climate impact or my carbon footprint. It's a reality. It matters. I pay attention to it because it's the right thing to do. And I want to make sure my yields are higher. And I want to make sure that I'm not polluting the soil. And I want to make sure my workers keep coming back to work. So I try to make sure that the workers are treated well and they get paid well and they can support their families. And at the same time, I want to make sure that the water going into the river is not bad, the wastewater, because I don't want anybody getting poisoned. So I'm paying attention to what my farmers need and what my farming operations need because I want my yields to be higher simultaneously. But I'm also not being asked those questions. There is in South America, so the way the global shipping industry works, the majority of ships go east-west. There's a lot fewer ships that go north-south. So north-south can be more expensive than east-west. So if you ever look at a map of the global shipping market and how ships are moving consistently, you'll see an east-west routing that's substantially greater than the north-south routing. So as you're looking at your opportunities, that's something to take into consideration. In South America, there's also inflationary pressures. In Egypt, there's inflationary pressures. I actually bought this shirt for like $5 in Egypt just this past week. I mean, he's going to get a shirt. So, you know, there are opportunities and people are looking for things to do and buy, but the inflationary pressures are going to pressure the market and their ability to have cash reserves to buy products. In Asia, you have plant-based diets, fusion foods, health and wellness, fermented foods. Fermented foods are really happening, and there's actually a private equity group that operates out of the US and Europe that's buying up fermented companies all over the world. So they're actually believing that this is really going to be one of the big growth industries for the agricultural sector in the coming years. In the Middle East, food security, water, domestic production, the impacts of climate, that's why they're going indoors and they're going vertical. And nutrition, sugar reduction. They actually have the highest incidence of diabetes on the planet, so in the Middle East. So it's, you know, kind of one of those things they have to focus on. Africa is also of interest, and more. You take, by 2050, Tanzania is going to be the 5th most populous country in the world. And between Mozambique and Ethiopia, you're talking about 500 million people. That's a marketplace. I first went to Egypt in 2007. There were 65 million people. Today, 16 years later, there's 125 million people in Egypt. Officially 115, but they told me 125. It's doubled population in 16 years. 125 million people just across the pond. So there's opportunity there for sure. Let me go to the next slide here. How do we do this? Like, is it froze? Which one? Yeah, that's what I'm pushing. I'm stuck here. Oh, here we go. So my supply chain. This is me. This is me doing the work I have to do. What have I been dealing with? I've been nearshoring. I've been moving my production and my agricultural supply chain closer to my source of sales. But simultaneous to that, I've also been globally diversifying it. So I don't rely on a single country for my production because everything changes and it can change overnight. And that's what happened during COVID. So when COVID hit, my entire supply chain evaporated. We were just a marketing company. We didn't grow a thing. Our factory did all the purchasing. There's a co-packer, and we had nothing to do with it. COVID hit, they call me up and they go, guess what? All of our suppliers won't deliver anymore. We have nothing to pack for you. You're going to go out of business. So, needless to say, I'm completely vertically integrated. And actually, by doing that vertical integration, I cut my production costs by 40%. So it was substantial, and it was in my interest to do that. And that's why I diversified our supply chain. We took over. We began farming completely. And I had to have a 12-month supply of goods. So historically, if you're a processor, you pack the product when the crop comes in. But that means that I, as a producer, I need to pack all of my products in about a 2-month period for the entire year. Well, I mean, if you don't have money, you can't afford that. That's a lot of money to tie up in glass, inventory, lids, vinegar, whatever it may be that you put into your product. It's difficult, and that costs a lot of money. So I developed a 12-month supply chain, which enabled me to produce product and import product within every month so that I didn't lose any money. Everything came in and went out. So that helped. My logistics. Logistics also became critical, and it's affecting the company right now with the Red Sea. But at the same time, I have manufacturing in India and I had manufacturing in the US. And we had manufacturing in Germany, but Germany got too whacked, so we blew Germany off. And only in India and the US, but it allows me to balance my production and consistently have product regardless of the logistics problems that hit us. I mentioned vertical integration already. I mentioned labor issues and worker support, and that's where you go to the fields, you meet with your workers, you find out about their lives, you get to know them, you know what they're dealing with, and you make sure that they're well taken care of. When I first came into agriculture a long time ago, I walked into the Dominican Republic in the fields, and there were people in chains farming my sugarcane. That was over. I closed that operation. That was the first thing I did in the Dominican, was close the operation and move to Belize. I used to grow sugar. But that was just not, you can't do that. And ever since then, I've really paid attention to how the workers are treated and making sure their lives are always getting better. On-sites visit every 3 months. I'm standing in a field, no matter where it is in the world, I'm standing in one of our fields where our farmers are growing every 3 months. Farmer support, gap training, input standards, direct financial support when necessary. And sometimes as a producer, sometimes as a packer, I have to advance money. Because when you have to advance money, it enables your partners to be able to meet obligations and still maintain their supply to you. So that was also very critical to me. I tried to avoid it, but at times it's necessary, and you should do it because it's a partnership. It's not, and this is the same thing for you if you're supplying, am I okay on time? Yeah. If you're supplying or being supplied to somebody in Europe or Russia or wherever, and you want to get your product in to them and they want your product, That's a synergistic partnership that you have to have together. And making sure you have the right partner is critical to maintaining your business and growing it. And like I said, own farms when necessary. And yes, we've had to do that. And last on my list, but not least, is the climate, sustainability, water, wastewater, and the environment. And these are the things that I had to take into consideration. It wasn't that the things on the bottom weren't a priority. They were kind of always worked into my operations. But the point was that they weren't the first thing I thought about every day when I woke up. So what I've done here is I've tried to show a little bit. I have a lot of statistical data, and it's all percentages, so I'll help you understand it. What I've done is I've gone ahead and I've highlighted the top exports in each categories: vegetables, preserved foods, and fruits from Serbia that are exported. They're in order of valuation on exports from the country, but I've also tried to put in what has been Serbia's growth rate, where is Serbia's top export market, and what is the growth rate of that market, what is the world's import growth for that commodity, and who is the top import market, but who's also the top growth market. So not always the top import market is the same as the growth market. And this is something, so I do a lot of work on analysis and competitiveness in regards of where I manufacture, where I grow, and how that place can compete against other countries that can also grow the same product. 5 minutes, okay, I'll talk faster. The translator is gonna kill me later, but okay. So you can kind of look at this, and I would kind of point out a little bit that one of the things that I think Serbia is, believe it or not, one of the most famous for, and something that I spent a lot of time here on, is fresh mushrooms. And that fresh and dried mushrooms and the growth, but world import growth, if you look at Serbia, we've been growing at 10 and 9%. And down here, the bottom one is actually the button mushrooms, the champignon. The other ones are the chanterelles and the Vrganja. So Serbia is certainly growing better than the world market, better than, and Italy is the main buyer. In fact, I've even walked into factories in Serbia and seen them packing products that said Producto d'Italia. Thinking the Italians like to pack it here and call it product of Italy. Okay. But the growth is in, you look at where the growth is, and you look at the US still importing 17%, and US buys here. Sweden's importing at 46% is the target market. And Sweden loves Serbia. I mean, Swedes, for whatever reason, I think they show up at Gucci every year. Frozen fruits is also critical, and that is something that I think I'm gonna talk a little bit more about real quick. I want to kind of jump ahead because I think it's important to go into the raspberry discussion. Serbia's export growth is negative 12%. That's substantial. That's based on 2019 to 2023 data. Germany is down 13%, and we know Germany has been buying more from Ukraine. They've been buying more from Poland, and Serbia was lost in the mix in that process and lost it. Germany is also negative 4% growth overall. So Germany's not the growing market. Then you look at Lithuania over there. Yes, it's up there. Yes, it's next to Ukraine, but it's growing at 20%. So there's not every market that we sell to is continuing to be a growth market. So there's more opportunities out there. My favorite Serbian product, and I love raspberries, don't get me wrong, but still the sour cherry. And pizza sa višnjom, any day, bring it on. 5% growth in cherries. Germany, no growth. World import growth, 5%. China, 31% growth in sour cherries. A great opportunity under the new trade agreement that Serbia has. Something that should be explored. So I want to quickly talk about frozen raspberries for Serbia. Obviously, it's a big challenge. It's a challenge that a lot of people in here may be facing. Primary competition in Europe is Poland and Ukraine. The current market prices being quoted in the marketplace for Europe, for Serbia, €2.30 to €2.50. That's up from 2.10 in December, but also significantly down from about the current market price, which is being exported today at about 3.85 on existing contracts. So Poland is currently at 2.30, and Ukraine is at 2.20, but Poland and Ukraine, because they were selling in September at €1.17 a kilo and €1.67 a kilo, they're about depleted. Their inventory's really drawn down significantly. Serbia is sitting on a very high and expensive inventory currently. Unfortunately, while the prices are coming in at 2.30 to 2.50 euro, there's not a lot of buyers stepping up to actually contract Serbian fruit at those prices. Even though Serbia is saying our price is 2.50, they're not getting any new sales. There might be a few spot sales, but nobody's getting big contracts right now. Buyers are sitting back and waiting. And I've talked to the buyers all over the United States. I've talked to the buyers all over Europe. Spent a lot of time. Who was at Anuga this year? Anybody else at Anuga? It was a good show. Seattle this year? Okay. So you heard what the buyers are doing. They're going to hold tight. They're going to wait because they know that there's a crisis in Serbian raspberry. If there's a continued moratorium on the banks, on the existing problems with the cold stores in the country, there's unlikely to be sufficient working capital for cold storages to acquire much of the 2024 crop. It's going to be hard. Where's the money going to come from to buy the crop if the banks won't give you any working capital? Unless a new payment scheme is worked out with the farmers and a new arrangement and a new restructuring of the way the system is currently working is resolved, I think we're going to continue to see our raspberry come down. In general, I think 23 is going to end up around 70,000 tons. And I think we're going to be somewhere between 65 and 70 for 24, if not even maybe lower. And that's because we're going to have a problem going into this season with farmers expecting a higher price and Serbian companies not being able to pay more than €1.70 a kilo. I'm already hearing that that's the price that's being talked around. That €1.70 is going to be a farmer price. And farmers are not going to be happy with that because they got a lot of money in the past. But there's nobody going to be able to buy their fruit. So we need to pay attention to what's coming, and I think there's solutions, and I think we can work out those solutions, but everybody's got to start working together to solve this. Yeah. Oh, that's all from me. I thought I had more than that, but there's the preserved products. So I think Alexander Pavlovich, who spoke first today, he raised the issue of pickles, and since that's one of my favorite ones, 17% growth coming out of Serbia. Germany is the top import market at 90%. The world import growth is 3%. U.S. is the top import market in the world at 14% growth, and China's over there 51%. So if you're in the pickle business and you're looking to create exports, developing a brand and targeting the Chinese market is not inappropriate. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to talk to you after the event. Thank you all.